Jude Bellingham, a player that gave some extraordinary performances this season, has been suffering a dip in his form, or so is said in the media. So in this video, we'll briefly talk about Bellingham's performance this year, his recent form and whether it's actually declined. We'll discuss possible reasons for it, a few things that are not being talked about his game, and lastly what can we expect from him next year. So without any further ado, let's begin our video. Let me begin by saying this, that Jude Bellingham is not any other player. His performance, the role he played in the team at different stages of the season, the way he adapted into Real Madrid ways, all of this is not normal, especially for a 20-year-old. He came into this Real Madrid team as a Galactico with a huge price tag. The whole English media criticized him for going to Spain over a chance to play in the Premier League, so a lot of pressure basically, and he started like it was nothing, like he was destined for greatness at the biggest stage. The things he said in his presentation, the way he spoke to the media, he sounded like a matured person. His pre-season was decent, and Carlo Ancelotti, after seeing him train, talked about how good of a player he can be. So fans had a good feeling about him, and then the season started. Bellingham scored in his debut, then a brace and an assist in his second match, another goal in his third match, and another one in his fourth. Then he scored in his Champions League debut, then his second UCL game as well, also in his third. Now people expected him to perform well, but the way he was playing, especially in front of the goal, no one expected that. He scored his 14th goal for Real Madrid in his 15th appearance and became the first player to score more than 13 goals in his first 15 games as a Real Madrid player, a record that was previously held by Cristiano Ronaldo, Alfredo Di Stefano and Truden Sanchez. And the crazy part was, Bellingham is a midfielder, unlike the mentioned legends who played in the attack. Imagine the audacity. Now goals and assists were there, no doubt, but he was also showing a sense of leadership, and that, to be honest, I have not seen by a player of his age. See, for a young player, it doesn't matter the talent he has. When he comes to a club like Real Madrid, his target would be to perform at a decent level when given a chance, so he gets consistent playing time. But Bellingham almost behaved like he has been there for years, like he is one of the leaders in the team. For the people who didn't watch him play, these are some examples of what he did on the pitch. In a game versus Almeria, Vinicius was annoyed because he was getting fouled a lot. Jude picks him up, asks him to focus on the game and not to get carried away, and then he assisted Vinny for the winner before they celebrated together. And then in an away game, when their new keeper Kepa struggled, after winning the match, he went to Real Madrid fans along with Kepa and asked them to applaud him to boost his confidence. And then in another game, Joselu was having a stinker in front of the goal and was getting booed by the fans. Bellingham assisted him for the goal, took him to the corner and asked him to celebrate. Then fans also started cheering. So he was not only exhibiting top performances but top character as well, and all of this while adapting to a new system which he has not played before, and that frankly is a bit too much. He was expected to be an excellent midfielder who will play in a box-to-box role, showing his strength and quality in both attack and defense. He'll learn from the best and become a great Real Madrid player in future. But what he did during the first half of the season, he superseded the expectations people had by a country mile. And we all know to maintain that level was next to impossible. So as expected, his numbers in front of goal started lessening compared to earlier. Now looking at La Liga, his first 21 games, he had 19 goal contributions, 16 goals and 3 assists, and now after 27 games, he just added 2 goals and 1 more assist to his tally, and is a similar story in other competitions as well. In fact, in the Champions League, he was criticized for his lack of performance versus City and Bayern. It was more so because Champions League is the biggest stage and Bellingham's hype was extraordinary. People wanted to see what he can do versus the best, and when you have contributed so much in front of the goal, anything less would be a disappointment. So naturally, people started questioning his recent form. You would have surely read somewhere in the social media that his form declined.
He's been brilliant, but his second half of the season not quite as strong as the first half of the season. So yeah, that's the situation.
So not the best right now, but let us understand what really happened. Now not everyone, but many people are labeling it a dip in his form, or he's not at the same level as before. Now people say this without contemplating the fact that firstly, his performance in the earlier part of the season was not normal, and secondly, people are not noticing the work he does on and off the ball even if he's not scoring goals. His profile before Real Madrid was of a midfielder who was deployed more as a defensive midfielder or in a double pivot role. Now of course he played as an attacking mid as well, but the highest he scored in a season for Dortmund was 8 goals. So Real Madrid never bought him for his goal-scoring abilities. In fact, Ancelotti had to put him in a false 9 or a number 10 position in a 4-4-2 formation because Benzema left, which was an unexpected event, due to which there was a change of formation, and Ancelotti after the pre-season put his trust on Bellingham to play a role where he can contribute in goals as well. And of course Bellingham did what he did, but to expect him to be that goal scorer forever was unfair in the first place. And then we started seeing him play a little deeper. Earlier in the season, he used to make well-timed runs in the box at the right moment. Also, he stayed a little further up in the field, and that was slowly changing. In fact, Real Madrid's style of play also changed during the latter half of the season. In important games, they played more defensive football, and Bellingham was playing deeper, more as a midfielder than a false nine. Another change was he was more involved in pressing and recovering balls. He was deployed in a role where his focus was cutting passes from reaching his opponents. Basically, he was more defense-oriented than attack, and for me, he played his part very well. He, along with Valverde, was the most hard-working players in the pitch. He was fighting for every ball, getting back to defend, off-the-ball work rate was impressive, and he also tried making runs forward. So yes, there were some changes in the role, but he was not shying away from working his ass off. Just a quick reminder that don't forget to like the video if you're finding it interesting. It would mean a lot. Now, another change that I noticed was Vinicius and Rodrigo started becoming the main man in attack. See, initially, when Bellingham was in this crazy goal scoring form, Vinny got injured for a long part and Rodrigo was not at his best. So Bellingham in a way was covering up for their goals. Then later, I'm not sure if it was because of a change in tactic or Vinny and Rodrigo started becoming more comfortable in this two-striker role, but they became a focal point in the attack. Team played to create more scoring opportunities for them. Bellingham's runs at this point were more to free up space for Vinny and Rodrigo, and this reflects in the numbers as well. You see, Bellingham already made 19 goal contributions by 10th of February, the day they had their game versus Girona. And at this point, Rodrigo had 11 and Vinicius just had 8 goal contributions. And I'm recording this video on 6th of May, and in this time, Bellingham has managed just 2 more goals and 1 assist, while Rodrigo had 7 and Vinicius had 14 goal contributions. So maybe Ancelotti tweaked something, or simply Vinny and Rodrigo improved their game, but the change was visible and it contributed to Bellingham's reduced numbers. Now, when the season started, Bellingham was everywhere. He was cutting passes in the deep, making runs in the crucial moments, dribbling past defenders, doing take-ons, tackles, everything. And back then, he looked like a strong physical player. And in November, he got a shoulder injury. It was not a small dislocation. It was an injury that required a surgery. Now, they opted not to go for the operation because that would mean Bellingham's absence for a long time. Instead, they went for a temporary solution, because of which Bellingham returned sooner, but will have to play with shoulder pads and in pain for the rest of the season. So that's first. Anyways, he was not showing any signs of slowing down as he scored upon his return and continued the way he left. But then he faced a suspension due to yellow cards, and this happened in the end of January. But in February, he got a nasty blow in his ankle, which kept him out for a few matches. He returned, still playing with the shoulder support, but then he got suspended for 2 matches because of a red card, about which we'll talk later. But the point is, Bellingham has a playstyle which is very much reliant in his physique, and he got major blows in his ankle and shoulder, and then to play in that pain while you are getting suspended in between would certainly affect a player's performance. We discussed injuries and playing through that pain, but there's one more thing, that is Bellingham's work rate. He runs for every loose ball, makes off-the-ball runs, his work rate in the defense is of high quality and works hard in pressing when asked. So basically the game he plays does tire you a lot, and we sometimes forget that he is just 20 years old. Because he plays an intense game. Look at how he's fighting for the balls, how he's being tackled, and still, he looks like he's giving everything in every game. And it is a human body after all. And although I think it's temporary, but at some point, it's gonna affect your game. Now, there are some moments in the season which can affect a player. Now, I cannot say this for a fact, but that red card he got versus Valencia could be one of those moments. Because Bellingham missed a few matches because of an injury before this game, and the last game he played before Valencia was versus Girona, and he scored 2 goals in that match. And then this game happened, which was a tough game, no doubt. Mestalla was emitting fire and they took the lead. Madrid somehow managed to get back to the game thanks to 2 goals from Vinicius. Bellingham worked hard the whole game, and at the dying moments of the match, he got a cross from Brahim Diaz, and he managed to hit the ball inside the net, but the referee blew the final whistle while the ball was in the air, and the supposed winner that Bellingham scored was not given, and all hell broke at Mestalla. Real Madrid players were protesting, referee was not going to change his mind, and at that point, we saw the angry side of Bellingham. Now he says that he was just protesting, and whatever he said was not inappropriate, but the referee didn't share that opinion and gave him a red card, and he was banned for the next 2 games. Now, you think for yourself, Bellingham was in a good form before this match, then he got injured, came back in this game, and could have returned to scoring ways. But the goal was disallowed and he could not play for the next 2 matches. So there was a forced disruption, and now that he was ready to play and hungry, he had to sit on the stands. And I'm no expert, but I guess that would affect your momentum. Now, what can we expect for next year? Well, first up, he has all the chances to win the Ballon d'Or this year. He has won the league already, where he was the highest goal scorer of his team. He's already playing the semi-finals of the Champions League as we speak, and are favourites to win that competition as well, after which he'll play in the Euros with England national team. So yeah, he can be the second youngest Ballon d'Or winner, and then hoping that his shoulder will be treated well, we can expect Jude Bellingham at full force. Now there also can be a change in tactic because of the possible arrival of Mbappe, and we can see Bellingham playing in a role that he played in the latter half of this campaign. And I don't think that's a problem because, as I said, he played well in that role. He already changed his game once to accommodate the absence of Benzema, and he did well, and I don't have any doubts that he can do it again. Now yes, I expect him to score lesser goals next season, but he'll hold a major importance in the Real Madrid team. Talking specifically about his role, I can see two scenarios here. Because Real Madrid can have one of the best attacking lineups in football next year, Ancelotti will have a choice, and I don't know which tactic he will opt, but if he plays a 4-3-3 formation, Bellingham will be in the heart of the midfield. He will be snatching the ball from his opponents and would be involved in building up the attack. But if it's a 4-4-2 formation, then there are chances of seeing him more in the attacking half. But because of the number of attackers Real will have next season, I believe that his role would be more like a proper box-to-box midfielder. And those were my thoughts, and I would very much like to know yours. So comment down below, I respond to every single comment. Let's have a discussion. Like this video and subscribe to Football Ledger. See you on the next one. Ciao.